Hey everyone, David here. Welcome back to TAD Talks. Today I want to talk about fear again. Not as in a general concept or my general understanding of it, but more like my personal experience, my personal journey through it. Um, I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, but I really can't guarantee it. Um, we all have personal journeys, personal experiences. I speak about these things a lot, the things that define how we view life, the things, our journeys essentially, inform our choices, the kind of person we grow up to become, our background defines our background, culture, family, the things, the kind of spaces we grow up in basically informs who we become, how we end up, the kind of principles we live by, the values that are important to us, the principles that, you know, we shape our life by. And personally, I must say, my journey is kind of like what you would call topsy turvy. There would, of course, for everyone, you would have great times. You will have times when seasons when you will that are not the best. Times when you will struggle. There are times when you are, you feel successful. There are times when you feel like a failure. There are times when, essentially everything just doesn't make sense to you. You can't make any sense of it. You look at life and you're like, what have I been doing? I mean, if you've at any point in time look back at your choices and be like, why didn't I just take the other road? Why didn't I just, consider the other option? Why did I not do something differently? It's because somewhere in that phase, somewhere at that stage in your life, you've brought yourself or you've experienced failure or had an outcome that you don't really like, or you're in that space where you're really not feeling fulfilled. I would say then in that moment, all of your fears, all of the things that you're worried about, the things that you've told yourself you would not allow to happen to you, you are in that space where you see them happening, and you know it's a space where no one really wants to be. It's a situation where no one feels, where you really don't. It's a thing you don't want to experience as a human being. You get to that space and you look back in time and look to the future, and you're like, what is in store for me? You get to that space where, some people will say they get depressed. Some people have varying considerations of how they just don't feel they should go forward or, try harder or try to get anything better. Yeah, those situations. When you're coming up in life, when you're growing up in life and you get to it, you definitely will get to several spaces when you need to make decisions, when you need to make choices, when you need to choose between two different, sometimes more than two paths where you have to, it's that you go this way or you go that way. And somewhere in the future, maybe, just maybe, the outcome you're getting in that moment does not entirely fit into what you expect it to be. You get to that space where you begin to consider, what if I had done it differently? What if I had taken the other option? What if I had not worried about fear? What if I had not, put myself in that space where I am thinking, maybe I should have taken the other road. Maybe, just maybe, you are essentially doubting the very reasons why you chose the path you chose, because you've now brought yourself to this space, or you've now experienced failure to a level where you feel you need to take several steps back and then begin your life, more like reset the path you want to take. It can be a daunting, difficult space to be. Over the last couple of weeks, I can say I have, in many ways, thought about that. Where the thing you're worried about the most, the thing where you are afraid of the most, somewhat is your reality. And you are in that space thinking, wow, how did I get here? How am I in this space where I'm struggling, where I feel like I failed, where, I mean, for the most part, I started this channel to essentially talk about the things I've experienced. It's more like a personal journey and sharing it, hoping, someone out there just listen, someone gets some kind of help from it, someone just listens and feels, okay, I can relate to this. I think it's a tough space. It's really hard because nobody wants to be human anymore. Nobody wants to express these vulnerabilities. Nobody wants to say, "Oh, I didn't do well," or or something about me isn't going as planned, or I failed. We had this many beautiful platitudes that tell you how. I mean, I've said it. Failure is in the end. It's a process. It's a phase that you go through. I mean, for everyone, we experience some failure in some way through the course of our lives. It's always there. It's nobody expects it. It's not like we live our life expecting that at some point in time we would fail. But the truth is, at every point, I mean, at some point in each and everyone's life, you would experience what to you is failure, what to you is not measuring up. And for someone like me, that's probably the worst fear I had growing up. At the point where I felt I needed to make a choice as to what my life or what direction my life will take, I think the strongest consideration I had, the biggest one I had, was fear, the fear of failing, the fear of not succeeding. So my considerations were based off of not just what makes me happy or what makes me excited or the things that are interesting to me. It was more so what path, essentially, is more guaranteed to make me successful. What path guarantees that this fear that I have does not materialize? I was more driven by not failing than being, I wouldn't say successful. I was more driven by not failing at whatever it is I chose than say what me sitting down and thinking, oh, what are these things that are important to me? What things are inside of me? Or what values do I have? What key things do I do? What things interest me the most? What are these things that I like in life? What, people will tell you something about, yeah, do what makes you happy. In that moment, I was not thinking about what makes me happy. I was mostly thinking about what thing or what path, what direction do I have to take that guarantees the most success for me? Because I do not want to fail as a person. That fear was the strongest motivation that told me, oh, between option A and option B, or option C, as it were, the choice you have to make is the one that most ensures that that fear you have does not crystallize. Because at best, I I told myself, I mean, in my life or growing up, I had no fallback position. And in reality, I had no fallback position. It wasn't like I had, the first attempt, the second attempt, or the third attempt, or keep trying at something. I had, I believed I had just the one chance, the one opportunity to go at life. And that one chance must make me or ensure that this big fear that I had does not happen. And I don't even know how to word it sometimes, but the reality is it's a difficult choice to make. it's not a trade-off you think about in the moment, but it's something that plays out in real time. Because when you're thinking about these things, you're thinking about several other factors that put you in that place where you're thinking, I must not fail. I can't afford it. It's too expensive for me. It's mind racking. And then for some weird reason, or as life would have it, over the years you go through life, you do all of these things, and then at some point you look back and you're like, what if? You start asking yourself, what if? What if I had done this differently? What if I had considered these other options? What if I had done, taken the other route or, chosen a different path? Where would I be? The truth is, you really can't say. But in that moment when you feel like this choice I made, this eventual path I chose to take, didn't really get me to where I want to be. So therefore, the other part must have been a better choice, or definitely would be a better choice if I had taken it. And the truth is, there are no guarantees. Because whatever choice you made at that point or at that phase in your life, you have to keep building on it with good choices. I know this. But it's not like you can now essentially stop your mind from thinking about, oh, the what ifs. You can't stop yourself from it. And I don't really have the answers for this. It's not like, I mean, I'm rambling at this point, but it's not like you have the answers to say, oh, this is how to deal with this situation. I guess it's more like be aware of it, know that these things would play out, know that choices abound, fear is there, you don't want to fail. You will fail at some point. You will have great successes. You will have massive failures at different stages of life. But what is more important to you? What Again, I don't have the answers. I don't. I have been for weeks trying to sit down to say this, but something just tells me, why do you want to? Why do you want to talk about it? What are you trying to achieve? And I guess that's the important question we need to ask ourselves. What am I trying to achieve? What am I trying to do? What is the end goal? Where am I going with this? What is fear to you? What is it debilitating? Does it spur you? Does it drive you? Fear used to be something I would say I would say back then I don't think about it. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's something that used to drive me. I mean, I knew I couldn't afford to fail. I knew that I had to be successful at whatever thing I am doing because in those times it wasn't like I had someone I could run to say, "Hey, I messed up," you know, pick me up or something like that. No, it wasn't there for me. So I just had to do these things, ensuring for a fact or guaranteeing as much as I really don't have all of the control, I am trying to guarantee that I do not fail. But knowing that you can fail, it can be a really useful tool to accept these realities, these outcomes, to to help you navigate those periods, those phases in life, because they are truly, truly times when you just sit down and ask yourself questions. You start questioning your own ability, you start questioning your own skill or intellect or intelligence or whatever skill that you have. You start asking yourself, is it worth it? Can it get you to where you want to be? And at that point, nothing makes sense to you. Nothing makes sense to you. It's not like you're not good enough or you don't have the skills it requires. You look at the world today, you look at people around you, and you see them doing fairly okay in whatever they've chosen to do. And you like, as human beings, you ask yourself, this person is not better than me. If you're confident enough, you might even say, I'm better than this person. I know I have better intelligence. I have better comprehension. I can do things better. My skills put me at a higher pedestal than this person. But in reality, that person is probably doing better than you. For whatever reason there exists, the person is, as far as you can estimate, is doing better than you. So you start asking yourself, why am I here? Why am I in this situation? Why am I failing? Why am I not doing enough? Am I not doing it right? Am I not doing the right, making the right choices, or, what is the difference? And then the fear tells you, somebody else keeps on you mind tells you maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you just, crap. And that right there is, when some time ago I spoke about confidence. The fact that when you're confident in yourself, when you're sure of what you are, or who you are, what you can do, your abilities, you tend to shine. Because while you're confident, you are able to attempt literally anything. People will think you're crazy, you're going to lose, this is going to fail. But because you're confident, you just attempt it. And yes, something I read today about outcomes. Bravery and stupidity are the same. The outcome of those actions that you take determines your label. So it's not really what you attempt most of the time that makes you brave or not brave or stupid. It's mostly what outcomes do you get. The outcomes that you get is what will make people define you as brave or stupid. Because if you come out and you have an unfavorable outcome, yeah, you've been stupid. Why did you attempt it in the first place? Didn't you see that? Didn't you see this coming? This was an obvious outcome. Anybody could see this. But then you attempted and you're successful. And you look, wow, that dude is intelligent. He is smart. And yes, he is courageous. He's brave to even attempt this thing. How do you bring yourself to be able to make that attempt to do that thing that everybody feels that nobody can succeed at? What is fear? How does it affect us? And how do you consider that fear during those periods when you failed, during those periods when you really don't have the answers? The truth is, you can't always have the answers. The truth is, you will have failures. You will have phases in life when you will struggle. What do you do in those times? I've been rambling. I'll be back again. Thank you, everyone.